has to do with player power, and it concerns one of the players in that your same tweet you mentioned, Alexander Isak.
The B part of that tweet.
Yeah, the B part of the tweet. You predicted that you see him ending up like Fernando Torres at Chelsea. But before we go into that, this has happened a lot this window, not just with Isak. Gyökeres did it. He refused to play for Sporting. Gentleman agreements broken. Same thing.
Wisa is doing it now.
Wisa is doing it at Brentford. Same thing. Isak said he had a gentleman agreement with Newcastle to leave, but they didn't allow him. He's down in tools, refusing to train. Lookman doing the same thing. Atlanta not allowing him to get his move. He's now refusing to train. Osimhen the same with Napoli, refusing to.
Osimhen did not refuse to train. It's not really that banished him to under 23.
But kind of a little similar scenario as well. So player power, players refusing to train, despite the fact that they have a contract with the club they are presently in. Does that sit well with you? I mean, is there anything like gentleman agreements for you? Because that's where most of these players come out to say, they have a gentleman agreement, but in the end of the day, the club doesn't reward them with their gentleman agreements.
Yeah, where I used to work, the chairman would say verbal can kill, verbal can destroy. Verbal is not a contract. It's not a contract that you can evidence in the court. In the medieval days, people shake hand, they spit on their hand, they shake hand and say that we agree on a deal. Those days have gone. That's why you now have lawyers. That's why you have a contract. And so if I agree with you, it's like my uncle, those uncle that used to tell us that when you graduate, just come to me, bring your CV to me, and then you graduate and he's not picking his call anymore. But the reverse of that story is that we are not uncles too. People are also calling us now, we're not picking our call. Let's get back to the conversation. To the best of my knowledge, and I've been on the player side, I've been on the club owner side, I've been a coach as well, and I've also been a club administrator. So on those four sides of the coin or of the square ring that I've been on, there is no part where a contract is valid because people have a verbal agreement. Because let's twist it. During transfers, we've seen players who gave their word that they will go to this club, move to another club. We've seen a lot of things happen. Verbal is not a contract. It's not a contract you can put before the court. But I would need to really get my lawyer firm. Even though I work at a law firm, I actually went to the court once in my life to go and represent a client. I would say here that I do not have the legal qualification to answer that question 100% correct. But for the security of an agreement, that's why you have clauses in contract. The best person that can answer this question with all authority is my other brother, Barrister Paul Musa, who is the principal at Paul Musa and Co. The reason why I say that is he's a master at contract law. He was a lecturer at LASU contract law. He would be able to give me a very concise response to it, whether verbal is tenable in the court of law, in dispute, in all of that. But I think that from a footballing standpoint, which I have the authority to speak, I think that the whole entity of your battle stays within the ambit of the contract, the current existing contract that you have with the club. If there is no clause that says, that's why they have buyout clause. If there's no clause that says, you are allowed to go in so time, so year, even within the contract. When Carlo Ancelotti signed for Everton, he inserted a clause in the contract that says if any big club in the mold of Juventus, AC Milan, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid or Barcelona, any of those big clubs, Manchester United, come for him, he would be allowed to go at XYZ amount. So it was clear from the get-go. And so many other, people have signed contracts like that. That's why there is actually a buyout clause or a release clause, as people would say. Now, if we're not working with that, I think that all the players that have banked on this gentleman's agreement to argue and drawn down, refuse to go to training, I think it is recalcitrant. It is unbecoming. That is the highest level of gross malfeasance by Isak. Anybody who supports it have their reason. Like I like to say, 100 truths can stand side by side. But you see, it is good for you if you are the fan of the club that is looking to buy Isak. Now, it's a beautiful thing. But think about it. My Liverpool friends are happy that Isak is holding that. I said, but this is you guys who want to cry just now that Trent Alexander ran his contract down and he left. Even though you got 10 million, you guys hated Trent Alexander already. You guys don't like Felipe Coutinho, even though you got over 139 million from him, but because he engineered his move. So the thing that you don't like when it's happening to you, how you not turn around to like it when that same thing is happening to another club because you want to buy their player, is what is strange for me. It's the two side. I'm not a guy who have a dog in this fight. So I'm going to speak from a neutral perspective. What Gyökeres did to engineer that move is stupid. Forget the fact that he came to my team Arsenal. What Isak is doing right now is dumb. This is why people think that footballers are very, very dumb people. They might be very fantastic on the field, but it's dumb. I like what Rashford did. So we should, when we're talking about these bad ones, let's talk about the good ones. I like what Rashford did. Rashford told us in January that he was going to play for Barcelona. He was still a Man United player. Then he went on loan to Aston Villa. And he kept saying it. I'm sure 99.9% of the people watching this video will say that nobody can come out and tell me that they believe that Rashford will play for FC Barcelona, will sign for FC Barcelona. But guess what? It happened. What does that not tell me in hindsight, in retrospect, thinking back now? It means that his team had done the job. And he's also found out that I'm not coming back to Man United. This is not going to work. There is an open door. The only thing is, can Barcelona pay? Can Barcelona register him? That is the only thing that is not going to hold it. That was why he was bold enough to say that. Now, I like that way because he had not gone on strike. He had not become rebellious. He had not, turned on his team. He's just being a professional. There is the job. There is a reason why they call this team professional. It's not mercenaries. It's not something where you can just, drop tools overnight. It's a terrible thing to do. What Wisa is doing is terrible. Now, me get you. I don't want to sell you. You have a contract with me. I need you too. You don't tell me that, all of a sudden you now know that you play for a big club. When you were playing for Real Society, did Liverpool come for you? So why is it that now you're playing for this team, you all of a sudden think that you should go to court, you should down to, even if you want to move, put in an official transfer request, but keep training. Does Liverpool or any club that want to sign Isak right now, are they feeling happy that the player that they are planning to sign is not training? He's not keeping his own end of the bargain. He's not keeping fit. And then when they sign him, what kind of player are they going to get? Are they going to get a player that is fully stable, fully mentally stable, ready to go, or that is competitive, or a player that they will not need another 2 months to bed in and start struggling, and then probably play one intensive game and then he gets injured and is out for the season? Because let's not forget that Isak is an injury-prone player. Because he's had one good season of his entire career, all of a sudden he's now gone from a war gecko to an alligator. Well, but I don't support this player power. There's a place for player power. You win something, you negotiate based on the contract you have. But this type of player power, I think it's rebellious. It's it's a mutiny that I do not support.
But sometimes there are some players as well who they have a contract, but the club wants to ship them out.
Okay, so let me. Let me explain something. As well. When you sign a contract for a club, within the stipulated year of the contract, you are the property. You are not a human being. You are a property of the club. That's why. If we consider,
like United are doing to Hoyland, yes, he clearly wants to stay, but they want to,
if you consider football as humans, then football is slave trade. Because any business where you trade human being is slavery. It's slave trade. Any business where you trade human players on the contract you sign, you are not seen as a human being. You are seen as a club property. So, in the period where you have a contract with the club reserves every right to sell you at any given time. There are reasons for selling you. Underperforming, not performing to the expectations that they set for you when they signed you. Seeing that they are having hemorrhage in their finances and you happen to be a prime asset within the time where they are hemorrhaging fund and they need to raise fund quickly. Or thirdly, they've seen a supposedly better assets than you are, but somebody have to make way in the garage for another to come in, right? So they will sell you. Even in our, and I see people argue this a lot. I was telling one former colleague, I say, they talk about this player, they talk about this same excuses what I give. When one club wants to sell, I say, where they work, you are expected to give 1 month notice before you can stop working. 1 month in lieu of your exit. But when the company wants to sack you, they come today and they sack you today. They don't give you notice. You don't ever see anybody that gives sack notice say, we're going to sack you in a month's time, but be coming to work every day. Have you ever seen that? It's never happened. So, in other words, that's the way contract is. The person who pays the piper dictates the tone. It is not mutiny if a club decide they want to sell you. It is not. because it is a business and you are an asset, you are a product, you are a property. They look at you and say, oh, I don't want this. There's a window of opportunity for me to sign this player now at this price, and hopefully it will give me results. It would sell merchandise, but at the same create excitement amongst the fans, goodwill. But at the same time, there is a higher opportunity to make more money off him if he plays well. But this one that we signed for XYZ amount is not turning out not to be the kind of player that we need. And then we've spent maybe 1 season or 2 to see your attitude in training, because all of us who analyze football don't see what the coaches and the clubs see in training, don't see the weekly medical tests that they run for these players. It is what they let you know that you know. There are certain things, certain data that they have that you don't have, that they are also binded by the confidentiality clauses that will make them not to reveal them, but they have it. And then I think, you know what, at this rate this guy is not going to turn out to be what we need. Let us cut our losses and make us more money and then go invest it on somebody else. So the club is at liberty to do that. You as a player also is at liberty to put in a transfer request. But while that transfer request process is going on, because if a club say they want to sell you in June and you end up moving 1st of or 31st of August, right? Does August have 31st of 1st? The last day of the transfer window, between June that they put you in the market, they will still be paying your salary. They will still be offering their obligation, their contractual obligations to you. As a matter of fact, when you leave, they will pay you the loyalty bonus that is stipulated in your contract. That is them meeting their obligation. You that is a player that signs for a club, your obligation is turn up fit and ready to train. Get yourself available to compete for matches. We have seen in time past where coaches say, I don't like this player, but the player keep coming to training every day, because that is the way you will. In your contract, it is clearly worded. For as long as you play your part, your salary will come complete. It is the bonuses now that is also tied to performance. You know, like if they say if you score 20 goals, you will get $250,000, for instance. If you're not playing, you're not going to score that one, so that bonus is not available. But if I sign a contract with you and I say on a weekly basis you get £1 million or $1 million, €1 million, whether you play match or you not play match, for as long as you're coming to training, you are attending, you're not AWOL, missing in action, you are going to get that money. So those are obligations too that you must do. But if you as a player just wake up and say, you know what, I don't see where I won't go. I don't see where I won't go, so I have the right to go. Even in divorce, there is a 2-year separation period where the court will say, nope, you do know that it is easier to get married than to get divorced. So the court does not you don't approach the court say I want a divorce and they say okay, for having heard your reasons, oh yeah, go and divorce yourself. No, unless in very extreme cases. In court they would get you, okay, you are separated but the marriage is not officially annulled. Within these 2 years, let's see if you guys can mend your ways. You will still be committed to seeing each other, talking to each other. Sometimes the court will even recommend therapy. Go and take therapy. Only we don't do that in Nigeria anyway. But you know, therapy, maybe somewhere along the line, you guys might just see reason why the spark will just come up again and the water will dry in the firewood and the firewood will catch fire, as we say, old firewood, now they catch fire, and then marriage is on. Some people like, how do we go from football to divorce? No, my point is, you don't just wake up and say, I don't want to train again. If Isak statement from his camp is saying, like, that's the stupidest one, that even if the transfer window end and he doesn't move, he's not going to train.
Yeah.
That 3 years contract he get to. Can Isak afford not to play football for the next 3 years? Do you know the owner of Newcastle?
No, he's not.
One of the richest human being on the planet Earth, as in the richest football club owner in the world, is the owner of Newcastle. If that guy decide to go AWOL on him, the next 3 years he's not going to kick a ball. Do you know what that means? Nobody will buy Isak. Because if you take Isak away from football there is a saying that if you leave football for 1 week, football will leave you for 6 weeks. If you leave football for 3 years, your eternity, football don't leave you. Football don't move past you that nobody would even see you. So if Isak think that he's playing a fast one, let him be very careful, because the table can turn. And guess what? The club can in turn sue him. The club can sue him and then decide to put a long running court battle. Does Isak have the money to do that?
Against That owners
Yes.
of Newcastle. I don't think. I think it's a rash.
At least nobody will insult me for this one. This one is not Nigerian player.
I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it's a World Cup year, and you want to stay. You don't want to play. Maybe he's hoping the move will come in January.
You really think
but
that
even if in January for 3 months without playing proper football, I don't think as a footballer. But the only issue now is
how long did Benjamin Mendy stay away from football?
That's a long
One
time.
club signing, you know what they said? They say he couldn't live up to the expectation of the game. Football. If
So
you leave football for
imagine-
1 month,
So imagine doing that, but I think he needs. If that is going to happen, he has a lot of mending to do with the fans, because I've already seen some burning his shirt already that he's a rat, this and that. You know
I can't blame the fans.
the chance in their game against Aston Villa. Over the
It's not
weekend,
as
it was-
if he's Cristiano Ronaldo when they signed him. Like, I'm not. I've always said I'm not an Isak fan, and probably maybe that is blinding my
And
judgment.
that will lead me to the second part of that your tweet, that you say you see him ending up as another Fernando Torres. Why did you say that? Is it because he has the ability?
Now I have to apologize to Fernando Torres, because I shouldn't have even used that. I should have used maybe not Hazard. Hazard is a fantastic player. He's the king of
Meanwhile,
players.
something in me thinks it would be like when Chelsea signed Fernando Torres, if anyone signed. Isak.
Yeah, because this was my thinking, my thinking at the time of putting that. Let me put a context to it. Isak is not Mo Salah. Isak is not Osimhen. Sometimes when I hear people say Isak is better than Osimhen, I was like, "Unadi Chris."
Yeah, there was the time this.
I've heard that conversation from a lot of people. Like, what are you really saying? Isak is not.
Talk was more technical.
Olivier Giroud, which technical?
More,
show me one technical goal that is. Osimhen has scored headed goal.
Like
He scored a bicycle kick. He's bullied his way in. Everything you want a striker to do, he's done it. That word technical is one of the most overused and the most abused. It's like the word gaslighting, narcissist. I mean, we take narcissism. It's the most abused word in the world today. That's in technique. The fact that you can control a ball and pass from point A to point B, that's technique. The fact that you can jump up, direct a ball with your head, and send it goal bound and it will go, that's technique. The fact that you can see a cross coming and you have the timing of God to turn your back and give a bicycle kick and the ball goes into the net, that's technique. Please, which technique Osimhen no get? Is it Dennis Beckham? Is it Didier Drogba? Is he Marco van Basten? Is he Zidane? And this is not me shitting on him, but I'm saying here that the motive behind that my position on that tweet is that it's only had one great season. People still argue.
One or two?
One great season. No, one great season.
He's got 20 goals back to back in two
the
seasons.
word great. The first one was,
I get the context now. It's great that you're
maybe
about.
this was one lucky season. Oh, can you repeat it? That's why you now bring the greats in. Like, okay, this is great season, right? When you now compare it to all those strikers that we still question, you know how many seasons Harry Kane was doing 30 plus goals for Tottenham Hotspur. People still question his ability as a striker. He went to the World Cup, he was top goal scorer. They still call him all sort of names. They still call his ability as a striker. People still question him. They say he's not among the all-time greats. It's not the Michael Owen. It's not this. Even Robbie Fowler. People that he has scored goals more than. Nobody ever put Harry Kane in the same class with Thierry Henry. Even though he scored more goals than him. Even though he scored more London Derby goals than him. You know, people didn't put him in certain category where he should be, where he's chasing the Alan Shearer goals. If you take the goals he scored for Bayern and bring it to England, he would eclipse everybody. But they still question him. You want to tell me that because he scored 20 goals or so, something that people like Son Heung-min score? How many goals did Mbeumo score last season? 20 goals. How many goals did Isak score? Almost similar, right?
Yeah, over 20 though.
Oh, yeah. So now, are you going to put Mbeumo and Isak in the same conversation the way they are putting Isak? But is that just about the same, almost the same number of goals? If you not understand the fact that Mbeumo scored his goal from wide area and this guy is a center man, then you ask question like, okay, this guy is not really, what people say is. I agree. Some people will argue, but Drogba did score 100 goals, but he's regarded. Yes, because when he scored, they win. When he scored, they won titles: Premier League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, any title, he takes you there. So that's enough to rate him higher than, the guys who scored more than him but have not, achieved anything with their goals. My point with this is that you might sign him and then he gets injured, because that's part of his whole history. Injury is part of his footballing history. He gets injured. You might score him, he struggle to adapt, because if Isak goes to Liverpool, will you build the team around him the way they did at Newcastle?
No, it's not.
So his goals count would reduce.
Maybe the fee, that's another talking point, because is he worth 150 million pounds?
I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there. I'm just saying that buying him might turn out to be another Fernando Torres. And don't forget, Fernando Torres until Chelsea was a prolific goal scorer. Investment 50 million, well made, but it didn't click. Radamel Falcao, another fantastic player until he came to the Premiership and he became a fat cow. Eden Hazard, chaotic, crazy player, right? For Chelsea. Went to Real Madrid, he became an hot air balloon. I could go on and tell you players like that. But what I am saying is, there is no credentials right now to convince me that Isak is the kind of player that comes in and changes your team from and also run to a championship winning team. No. All he did for Newcastle was put them in places where they've been before. He took them to where they've been before. Newcastle consecutively became second in the Premier League.
He won the Carabao Cup for them, to be fair.
He won the
Isak, it was his goal that won the Carabao Cup for them.
Okay.
It was crucial. Against same Liverpool in the
Carabao
final.
Cup. Like, really?
I mean, that's their first, I think, their first
70 something years.
Yeah, so it's in the history books. If you look at it, for a club like Newcastle, what he's done.
Shut up.
So
I'm not buying that. So that's my reason.
I
and now his actions are playing it out. There is a part of me, there's a part of me that want Newcastle to hold their ground and make sure it doesn't go. So that this player power, some people will know that not everybody can fall for it. Because if Newcastle give up their ground now and sell him, if I'm Newcastle, I'm not even going to argue. I say, look, anybody that can buy him, come and pay 150 million. Come and pay 150 million, we'll give you Isak. If you're not paying 150 million, there is nobody that is moving. And then when the window closes, but you're not going to play. You're not going to play. Let the heavens fall. Newcastle is not going to get relegated. Nobody's also going to get angry if Newcastle did not win the league. No, nobody's going to get angry if Newcastle does not make the top four. That's not their level. They are the richest. They have the richest sugar daddy that does not have the power to fund them right now. But they will not,
at some point we talk about PSR.
They will not get relegated. That's just the truth. And because they will not get relegated, they can afford it. It's a debt that the owner can obviously write off and still move on and do some other things. But players must know. If I use the word know their place now, they're like, oh, I'm authoritarian and the rest. But players must know their place in reference to the contract that they have. All these new players, why is it that it's only rebellious players that now have gentleman agreement? All of them have gentleman agreement. You're telling me that you have this much money, you are playing top flight football, you do not have an agent, a legal team to draft a contract. So if LeBron James want to leave a franchise, he will say we have a gentleman agreement. You are who get the gentleman agreement. Who exactly signed that gentleman agreement with you? Where is the evidence of that gentleman agreement? Or something that it's like a man we naked in front of a woman. We see naked woman, we make promise. Say if I go Aba, I go buy you shoe. If I go shoe, I go buy you Aba. When sex don't happen finish, the woman won't claim the Aba. Say the Aba you promise me, give it to me. You know what I'm saying? In the moment of adrenaline, the man take make that promise. Those are not promises that you can bank on. Bank on the clauses on your contract. If you don't bank on that one, my brother, you're a problem to yourself.
Well, a lot can still change in the window. Newcastle is still looking for strikers. Utara has gone to Brentford. We wait to see if Brentford is going to release Wisa to Newcastle.
Why are players rejecting Newcastle?
It's and they have Champions League football. So and
if I'm Brentford, so I will not sell Wisa.
So we wait to see how it pans out. And they have rich owners, but just not allowed to spend due to PSR limitations. And like I said, maybe one of the episodes will talk about the advantages of this PSR thing.
I don't like the PSR.
I was limiting teams, but let's keep that in the bag for now.